I'm joined now by our very own Nancy Cordes. Nancy, it's great to see you on this day of days.
Great to be with you.
So there are varying levels of expectations about what might just happen tonight. In terms of President Trump outlining specifics, do you think we'll actually get them this evening?
Well, presidents at these addresses for time immemorial have not provided as much detail as members of Congress would like. They go broad. They do a laundry list of all the things they've gotten done or they want to get done. They don't tend to go very deep. And this president, in particular, has been known to sort of gloss over some of the finer points. And there's no indication that tonight will be any different. Just the other day, he said, "Who knew that health care, for example, is as complicated as it is?" But what I think Republicans want to hear most from him tonight is sort of a set of organizing principles when it comes to replacing Obamacare. They all took so much heat last week when they went back to their home districts to talk about their replacement plans. They could barely get the words out because they were being shouted down primarily by Democratic protesters who are worried about what Republicans have planned or don't have planned for an Obamacare replacement. So they could really use some cover from this president tonight on what exactly Obamacare will be replaced with and why the American people will like it better than what exists right now.
Do you get the sense that this White House is coordinating with its counterparts on Capitol Hill behind the scenes, specifically on health care?
Behind the scenes, yes. There are constant conversations taking place between the White House and Republican leaders here on Capitol Hill about the shape of that plan, about the timing of releasing it, about all of the details. Now that Tom Price has been installed as the Health and Human Services Secretary, he's really running point on this entire operation. The bigger problem is what's happening publicly, frankly.
Yeah.
When the president comes out and says that the healthcare replacement plan is going to be bigger than what you've got now, it's going to replace everybody, it's going to give you better coverage, but it's also going to be cheaper. He's kind of painting Republican leaders into a corner because, after all, the whole reason that they want to replace Obamacare is because that they feel that it is too big.
Sure.
And they want something more streamlined. So, it's great for him to talk about how much people are going to like the replacement. Not so great for leaders for him to be creating expectations that they themselves acknowledge they probably can't meet.
And what of Democrats? Because if there is a replacement bill for the Affordable Care Act or any number of these huge legislative priorities, Democrats are going to need to get on board to get this through Congress.
Right.
To what degree is there any back and forth between this White House and Democrats on the Hill?
Not that much. And Democrats, frankly, are very conflicted. On one hand, they certainly don't want to see President Obama's signature achievement dismantled. They worked very hard on it. They're extremely resentful that for years and years, Republicans refused to work with them to fix elements of the plan that even they acknowledge were not perfect. On the other hand, they don't want to see 20 million people lose their health insurance. And so if Republicans are going to repeal Obamacare, it's in their interest to work with them on a replacement. So they're really waiting, like everyone else, to see what this replacement plan looks like. How many people does it cover? How many people would lose their insurance? What happens to the cost of insurance? What happens to Medicaid? These are big questions that people still have. And there was a draft of the Republican plan that came out last week. It was leaked. And immediately a bunch of conservatives jumped on it because it included tax credits to help people buy insurance if they needed that help. And they said, well, this is just another entitlement program.
Right.
I'm against that. And so that kind of talk really worries Democrats who say, you're going to repeal healthcare. That's the easy part. The hard part is replacing it. And if your own party can't agree on the way forward, how can we be sure that you'll ever be able to craft a suitable replacement proposal for this, very complicated healthcare law?
Just really quickly, Nancy, the sort of the floated proposals that we've had from this White House have raised consternation among both Democrats and Republicans.
Right.
What is the mood on the Hill going into this address?
I think that there is a lot of confusion. There's a lot of concern about the way forward. Remember, they're not just fighting about Obamacare. This president and Republican leaders in Congress, they now control both ends of Pennsylvania Avenue. They also say that they want to reform the tax system this summer. The president also says he wants an enormous infrastructure spending bill. That's something that Democrats agree with. But where's the fine print? So suddenly you have a Congress that frankly hasn't accomplished very much in the past few years, now on overdrive.
Yep.
And the question is, when will we actually see the text of some of these plans? Because right now, people are just kind of, they're debating a phantom. There are no specifics for the two sides to debate, the two sides to work on. And the problem with that is that people get so entrenched that once the legislation really is revealed, they've already said that they're for it or against it, and that makes compromise more difficult.
Well, there are going to be a lot of people sitting up in their seats and listening carefully tonight. Nancy Cordes, it's always good to see you. We'll let you get back to your busy day.
Great to be with you, Alex.
Back to you, Jeff.
Alex, really quickly, and if Nancy can hear me as well, maybe both of you can address this if needed based on your reporting, but I think a lot of people are really interested in the Tom Price part of this, right, and the nitty-gritty of what he's doing, because one of the reasons that Price was put up was because they said, listen, this guy doesn't just want to repeal it, but he actually has a plan. So I wonder if you can talk about the challenges or the successes that Price faces right now on a daily policy level.
Well, I mean, the plan that was floated last week, which you were talking about earlier, Nancy, is very much driven by the outline that Tom Price has been sort of floating for some time now on the Hill. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's right. And Republican leaders say, well, that plan is outdated. That's no longer what we're working off of. That was several iterations ago, which may be true, but A, the final product isn't going to be that different. And B, you know, if you have a different plan, where is it? And so that is what is challenging for Democrats and Republicans alike, is that Republicans are going to these town halls and they're telling their voters, we're going to have something that's so much better. But yet they don't have anything to show those voters to comfort them.
And the specifics of that plan, you know, older Americans could pay up to 5 times as much as younger Americans, depending on the plans. It would greatly shrink the subsidies given to states to expand Medicaid, which would inevitably kick people off the rolls. I mean, once the rubber meets the proverbial road, then you get really into serious criticism of any plan, right? And I think we're on the verge of that at this particular moment, Jeff.
Alex and Nancy, thank you both very much. We'll see you again soon.